I give away free Steam games with every major video I do, and here's who won this week. The games available to receive are listed below. To enter, just leave a comment and have contact information on your profile. And now, on with the video. I'm playing something almost every week, and sometimes I want to talk about it and give you a vertical slice. So stick with me for some lightning reviews. This week, on the chopping block. This week I've been playing Cult of the Lamb. For the sake of disclosure, as we move deeper into the month of spooky things, given time and professional obligations, I'm not certain I'm going to be able to do a Halloween special this year, but I figured I'd at the very least cover a game or two with some insidious or scary tones or themes. Cult of the Lamb just so happened to pop up because I received my physical copy from Special Reserve Games, a limited edition that comes with all the DLC on the cartridge. This is another game that I was anticipating to a certain degree because I have a strong affinity for games with dissonant elements that work in a rather cohesive way. What I mean by this is Cult of the Lamb has an incredibly cutesy visual style that overlays gameplay in context that is decidedly dark or up, which I think you'll see illustrated as the review moves on. The game starts with your character being led to a sacrificial altar and murdered to fulfill a prophecy of 4 eldritch gods. Upon being sacrificed, a 5th god intercepts the passage of your spirit into the afterlife, grants you otherworldly powers, and designates the task of starting a cult to gain more power and destroying the 4 gods who decided your existence in and of itself was a sin. With the story introduction out of the way, you're introduced to the 2 primary gameplay loops. One is a roguelike dungeon brawler where you can navigate and gain resources, followers, and experience, and then a vaguely Animal Crossing-esque village management sim where you endeavor to care for and maintain happiness or obedience of the cult members you gather. Initially, I think these 2 juxtaposing game modes mesh well. While both are necessary to complete the game, they complement each other by having different levels of concentration and interaction. Let's say you just completed a dungeon run that you won by the skin of your teeth. You can then spend the resources you acquired to improve your commune and take some side quests from your enrolled cult members. You can also visit other areas on the local map where you can engage in a dice gambling minigame, and of course what game with a village management mechanic would be complete without fishing? On the other hand, if you are getting a bit overwhelmed or irritated by the village and an onslaught of negative effects or annoying requests, you can retreat to the nearby dungeons to blow off steam. The combat mechanics for most dungeons are fairly well crafted, with most enemies being well telegraphed, and your combat being determined by the weapons and powers that you pick up at the start of every dungeon. Unfortunately, that random item mechanic leads to one of my first major irritations. I know it's a staple of the roguelike genre, but I can't stand the annoyance of when I enter the first room of a dungeon and am greeted with the power weapon that indeed deals heavy damage with every strike, but the insufferably slow attack speed renders it next to useless in a high-pressure combat environment where you could have enemies just as fast as you but able to rattle off their attacks in half the time. It is entirely possible to receive weapons or powers at the start of the dungeon that are so ill-suited to your playstyle that the rest of the dungeon becomes a matter of anger, attrition, and inevitable failure. When you do fail, you get zapped back to your patron god who just gives you a reminder that you are immune to death in the long run, and he teleports you back to the village. But this is usually associated with some manner of negative effect on your villagers perceiving you as weak. It's not a guarantee every time, but the frustration is notable. It's worth pointing out that as you progress and get more powerful, you can get power-ups or bonuses that mitigate these circumstances, but don't necessarily eliminate them. Oh, and I did have a few performance issues. Given that it's cartridge-based, the load screen seemed a bit long at times. I couldn't help but feel I was experiencing stuttering issues on transition screens or cutscenes, and I did have at least one crash out to the main menu so far. Now, for most of the rest of the review, my primary criticisms, commentary, or thoughts are going to be explicitly personal, and this is due to a lot of factors in my own life and modern social matters to which I maintain awareness. To preface that, I have to go back and discuss the tone and story some more, and some ways in which it ties back to gameplay. As I mentioned at the start, I am very much a fan of cutesy visuals tied to dark themes and actions, and have a strong affinity to pitch black humor, and that is very much present in Cult of the Lamb. Taking a lot of the scenarios from the game out of context, or even completely keeping them within the context in which they happen, it is decidedly f***ed up. Are you having trouble maintaining enough of a food supply for your worshippers, and there's one particular member who has been blaspheming against you? Solve both problems with some cannibalism. Are you in need of a stat boost? Sacrifice one of your villagers to level up, and because they are becoming part of you, everyone else gains more loyalty towards you. These are but a few of many decisions you can make in the village cult management aspect, under which the style and absurdity in which it's presented, I won't deny there's a certain degree of amusement. On the other hand, especially with a few modern tendencies of personality cults becoming prevalent, and individuals using their religious beliefs to persecute others, every so often while I was playing, I was reminded of these affairs and was made somewhat uncomfortable because I'm effectively playing the leader of one of these groups, even in a fictitious and again absurd matter. To reiterate, an entirely personal quibble, but at the end of the day, I'm still playing this game because in spite of the annoyances, none of them are enough of a deal breaker to stop me from coming back, which I guess means you can take away that Cult of the Lamb is actually pretty good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna dive into the next dungeon. Hey, look at that, it's the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember that commenting can actually win you a free prize. So until next time, this is Gheeotine saying thanks for watching and keep your head on your shoulders.